Do you want your dog to find morel mushrooms? Follow along as we go over the 3 main steps of how we teach our dogs to find that elusive morel. Now we're going to get right into it. The very first step is getting your dog to love the smell of the morels. How we do that, how we start that very first step is we have our morels from Morel Dogs. Morel Dog mushrooms, these are a training mushroom that we use to train all of our dogs. It's just dried morels in there. We rehydrate them in water. So I have one that's rehydrated here. And when they're rehydrated, we put them in a tin. So the morels in there. Now I will say normally I use gloves for this. I don't have gloves on today. Not a big deal because I do it both ways. We'll talk more about scent control of how I do it later on. But how this looks is this tin goes in here. The dog sticks his head in because when this box is on the ground, actually I'll just stick it down here so you can kind of see. I have Red down here. He is a 9-month-old lab that we are training. He is used to the box, but the first time you stick a box down with nothing in there in front of the dog, most dogs will stick their head in it. There's nothing in there, so he's not going to hold his head in there. But he stuck his head in there. So the very first time, I would have tossed food in. I would have followed up with food. And I just kept feeding and feeding and feeding. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the box a little bit. I use the box. One is it contains the odor. The dog has to stick his head in there where the morel smells in for the next week or two. Every time the dog eats, he's going to be smelling the morels. But some dogs won't stick their head in here. And I believe that if your dog isn't strong enough to just stick his head inside of a box, we need to rethink whether he's going to be strong enough to actually go out and be a good morel dog. But if he won't stick his head in the box, it's not the end of the world. We can still produce a really great morel dog. We just need to spend more time on the box. And I have videos on how to get dogs that are nervous and scared to stick their head in the box. So I'm going to go into that. That'll be a whole new video itself. But work on getting your dog's head in the box. I think that's important to get a good morel dog. Just having that confidence. Remember, they're out in the woods, they're hunting, they're working away from us. We want them to have confidence. So moving on, how this looks. I'm just going to show you briefly how I imprint the scent, how I get them to love the scent. The morel's in there. The box is here. I have Red's Daily Kibble right here. Now remember, he has done this before, but when the box goes down, he sees the tin, he sticks his nose on it, and I feed. Basically, I'm paying him for smelling that morel. Nose on, eats all the kibble, nose on, pay. Eats all the, we repeat this over and over. Now it does take time to build up to this, but just time and patience over the next couple of weeks, you will get this. When I'm done, yes, I mark it with yes, I pull him out of the box, and the box goes away. So that's a very brief of how I imprint the scent. Remember, that's like a week or two of work right there, twice a day. So make sure this is good before you move on. We get them to love the smell. From there, I show them what the morel looks like. Because basically my morel dogs, when they're out in the woods, most of the time, the first thing they do is they smell the morel, they work to the morel, and then when they can visually see the morel, they indicate on it. If they don't, because in training, I don't show them that, like, if I did it completely like this with a tin where they couldn't see the morel, eventually they would just indicate on scent. I'm wanting to pick morels, so I only want them indicating on a visual morel. So I teach them the sight. So let's get into that session and I'll show you how that looks. So the next step on getting them to the visual, I use a glass jar, I use a fake morel. These morels are made out of resin. I just stick it in the jar. I take my morel that I've rehydrated, I stick it in there so it looks like one, now it smells like one. And before I get into showing you how that looks, how we start this, getting that visual effect to him, I want to talk about one of the reasons why I also use the jar, and that is because you'll see when he sticks his nose in here, he can't open his mouth. So we're conditioning him. He sees, smells, keeps a closed mouth. That's not the whole idea of this training session, but a big part of it. He sees it, so we're teaching him the visual. Now he can smell it, but he keeps his mouth closed. So I'm gonna get him up on the mill. The main reason is because he's at my height. It's just easier for me to do on the mill. He's going up there now. So when I start this, I hold it up, they can see it. They put, yes, I mark with yes. He sticks his nose in, I mark it with yes. And we continue this. I don't want him licking, I want his nose in there. Right there, yes. Make sure you're not marking and rewarding any behaviors that you don't want to see in the woods. Remember, this is we're conditioning him how to respond to those morels. Yes, and that's it right there. We'll do several reps of this just so we can get that, yes, that condition right there where he closes his mouth. He sees the morel, he smells the morel, yes, which will be kind of the opposite in the woods. He'll smell the morel and then see it. But like I said, nope. Yes. This is it. We do a bunch of this. He's wanting to lick a little bit. So we're actually, he's past this thing, but because I see this licking behavior, we're going to back up and come back. You got to chew it up, buddy. Come back to this and do this for a few sessions to see if we can't get that closed mouth. So moving on, the next step. So that's not the only step we do to show the visual. We will, the next step, actually, let's just get right into that. The second part of getting the visual is I take them around. We're still inside the training room. This could be your living room, wherever you decide, just inside, someplace they're used to. I've put a screw in the bottom of this in a hole, so now I can insert in this block, and I can also insert in the ground later on. But I had the fake morel. Now we're gonna rub this morel over it. So it looks like a real morel, and now it smells like one. But the main thing we're doing right now is teaching him the visual. So I have a few treats. I've actually taken my treat pouch off. We're usually using the kibble. Right now I'm gonna run with it. I got some hot dogs in my pocket. Treats work the same. I just prefer using kibble. Now the very first step of this is setting it down and waiting for your dog to indicate on it, however that might look. Some dogs sit, some dogs lay down on it. It really depends on, most of it depends on how much obedience your dog has. I've done a lot of downs with him, so he laid down naturally the first time on this. So that's what we run with. And you see he sees it and he lays down. So, but the very first step, he sees it, he goes to it, and he lays down. Yes. I mark, pull him away from it, give the signal, mushroom. He goes back, yes, mark. So now he's seeing it, he smells it. Yes, toss that in the way. And remember, as far as the smell goes, we've already imprinted that scent. He already loves that smell. So, but now he's associated with that sight. So he sees it, he smells it, and now he's indicating on it. So that's the first step is getting him to love the smell. The second part is really teaching, we're adding all the components in there, but really teaching him what it looks like so he can visually see it. We do use different sizes of morels. We have 4 different sizes, so they get a little smaller. Now, depending on what you're looking for your dog to find, you can get the really little ones. I don't like picking those. I just want to pick the ones that are more able to eat. So the bigger morels is what I teach them to find. Now, after we teach to love the smell, what they look like, and we're already starting to put it all together, but we're really going to put it all together, and we're going to take them to the woods and show them what it looks like there. Do not skip the step. Take it out there. Actually, you should probably take it to your yards. Take it out, basically take it outside and start showing what it looks like without you putting it in the ground. What I found is if I do a bunch where I set the morel down and they go to it, yes. And see, we started the same way in the woods. Yes. As far as I'm sticking in the ground, which I'm going to show you that. Stick it in the ground, they lay down on it. If you do too much of that, the dog learns, or the dog thinks the only time he should lay down on it is if he sees me stick it in the ground. So we're going to start hiding it in the yard without him seeing me and letting him go find it. And then we'll take it to the woods. All right, we're out in the yard. I have the morel We've buttered it up so it smells like one, looks like one. I have Red out here. He's running around. Hey. So remember, he's going to see me put this down, and then he's going to indicate on it. Hey, Red. Red. So he's, see, looking at me. Boom. Yes. So this is the very first step of in the yard, just like in the training room. Yes. I'm going to have him lay down a few times on this in reward for this behavior. Yes. And then I'm going to do it one more time. Mushroom. Yes. Now, the next time, or the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hide him out here without him seeing us, and then we're going to let him go search for him and see how that goes. All right, now we got the morels hid out there. I think we got 6 of them hid. I'm going to let Red out of the truck, and we're going to see how he does. Mushrooms. Come on, mushrooms. Yes. Good boy, yeah. Good boy, yeah. That's a boy. Good boy, yeah. So that's how we start Red in the grass, and then we hide him when he don't see us. We replicate that in the woods. When we go to the woods, it looks the exact same way. So instead of just showing you another video that looks like this, just when you get done here, Beth's getting a little excited there. When you get done with the yard, go to a different part of the yard. Go to a park. Right now we're in a park. Beth, quiet. Right now we're in a park. We've already done it at home, so we've come to the park. We're just generalizing in different places. Our next step is taking him to the woods. But like I said, instead of showing you that, basically it looks the same way. We start off with hiding him so you can see him. One session, the next session we go out and hide him so he don't see us hiding him. And we just start adding on to that. So good luck with your training and let me know how it goes.